And we are really lucky today to be joined by Dr. Antonia Mia Farrell. She currently serves as the Assistant Dean and Director for Diversity at the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment. She's also the National Manners President. If you don't know about Manners, and you don't know about UK Manners in particular, you're missing out, because University of Kentucky's Manners chapter was named the National Chapter of the Year for the 7th year in a row. Is that right?
That's correct.
Amazing, amazing. So, you know, just what an amazing organization, and your leadership of that group. She's in the cohort of 16 of the Food Systems Leadership Institute, a committee member for the UK Equality Feast, Big Brothers Big Sister board member, Kentucky Women in Agriculture board member, Next Door Grocery Store board member. She served on the UK Women's Forum board for 2 years and is a graduate of the class of 2018-2019 Leadership Lexington. And she's a member of the UK College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment Alumni Board. And these are just a few of her leadership commitments. So Dr. Farrell, it's just such a pleasure to have you here with us today, but also with us in our university and our college here all the time. So thanks, and I want to turn things over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Ellen, for having me today, and very excited to present to the Forestry Department today on intentionally recruiting and retaining a diverse community. And so my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And so I'm gonna delve right into my presentation and highlight the staff that truly keeps our office going. And so, of course, myself. Then we have Dr. Vanessa Jackson, who is the Director of Faculty Diversity and Inclusiveness. And then we also have Kendriana Price, who is the Acting Assistant Director for Diversity and also the Inclusion and Diversity Program Coordinator. So I started in this role as the Interim Director for Diversity about 2 years ago. And then about a year ago, I was named the Assistant Dean and Director for Diversity. And so one of my goals were to enhance the marketing of our office. Historically, we have been known for the resources for our students, which were great and still are great. And we wanted to make sure that our faculty and staff know that we're here as a resource. And so here I am going to play the first video, our first marketing piece, using our slogan, "Diversity starts with us."
We have an obligation to serve everyone, every faith, every creed, every orientation, every identity across the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Diversity and inclusion is interwoven into the fabric of our college.
Certainly we have conscious efforts and a diversity office, and through those efforts we try to promote an inclusive environment, recognizing all the different kinds of folks that are part of the fabric of agriculture, food, and environment.
I think that's what it is. I think it's very intentional.
And so being able to connect with people from diverse backgrounds, diverse perspectives, we can learn from them and be able to explore in that regard.
Being in classes with people from all over the U.S. and all over the world has kind of brought the global perspectives to me.
And we learn from each other, and we get experiences that make us not think about just what we want to do.
We are working closely with many of the Fortune 500 companies that are wanting to create a pipeline of diverse talent and ensuring that our students are prepared for that diverse workforce when they do enter. The College of Agriculture, Food, and Environment truly does ensure that students, faculty, and staff have that sense of belonging here in the college through the resources that we offer.
So a fun fact about our college, so we are the only college at the university that has an Office of Diversity. So to bring you all up to perspective, as far as my major job responsibilities, I dedicate 100% of my time to DE&I. Whereas on campus in some of the colleges, they may be at 0%, which is voluntold, or they may be at as much as 25%. I will tell you 100% is still not enough, but we are very intentional in our efforts in our college and truly are making headway and doing a lot more than other colleges are doing within the university. So goal 4 of our strategic plan is truly dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so with that, you will see that our plan is now outdated. We are now at 2020. So definitely working on our 2020 through 2025 plan. And so with that, we will have a more robust plan. Because there are definitely other areas as far as opportunities for growth, but we definitely want to make sure that we are continually creating a talent of pipeline as far as faculty, students, and staff. So what are our objectives? So in the Office of Diversity, we are here to prepare students, faculty, and staff for life and to work in an increasingly diverse society and to embrace diversity while being inclusive. Commit to improving academic achievement for all students, create an inclusive campus environment, and produce culturally competent graduates for the workforce. So I wanted to give you all a snapshot of some of the initiatives that we have in our office. This list is not encompassing of all, but I did want to share some. So of course, we have a strategic plan that we use or utilize in order to have our daily functions and knowing exactly where the gaps and opportunities for growth are within our college. We also, with an extension, have a Coming Together for Racial Understanding training. So this is a 14-hour train the trainer focused on civil dialogue and the discussion of race. And so right now we have about 49 family consumer science specialists and SETIC who are going through this training in order to be able to train extension employees throughout the Commonwealth on coming together for racial understanding. Here recently, we started our DEI sessions for our department chairs. And so we learned that it's very important that if our department chairs are not on board, it's really hard to filtrate any type of initiatives that you would like to have within our college. And so we thought it was very important for us to get our department chairs on board. Coming soon will be our faculty mentorship program. So right now we have our staff mentorship program, but coming in the next month or so, be on the lookout via email because we will be having a new formulated faculty mentorship program. We also have our annual Intercultural Awareness Day. And so every year we are highlighting the diversity in our college. And so the past few years, we have talked about the global society. We have focused on women in our college. We have focused on different places of faith. And this year, due to COVID, we will not have our Intercultural Awareness Day, but it will be postponed to next year. And so the focus will be on the urban and rural divide of the local food systems. And so we'll have more information about that. We also have junior manners and manners. And so as we talk about diversifying that talent pipeline, Junior Manners is a program that starts with youth grades 7 through 12. And so I'll talk more about that in the presentation. We also have a Carter G. Woodson research mentor program. And so again, as we talk about bringing more awareness to the forest sector, this is an opportunity for high school males to come to campus and to actually conduct research that is led by our faculty mentors in order to get the students engaged in research, but also learning about your respective area. And so if anyone is interested in that, definitely send me an email and we can work that out for when school is back in session for our Carter G. Woodson boys when they're actually face-to-face. We also have our Diversity Advisory Committee. We have a faculty DEI series to help infuse DEI into the curriculum. And so if you were a part of the webinar with CELT a few weeks ago, we had talked about in the spring, we would actually have a hands-on facilitated webinar that focuses on infusing diversity, equity, and inclusion into the curriculum. Now it would not just be a one-time training, but it will be ongoing. So more information will be coming out for that. We also have our Kentucky Extension Diversity and Inclusion Network Employee Resource Group. I hope that you all have joined us for our Cultivating Inclusion series, which is the first Thursday of each month. We have also been very intentional with our incoming freshmen to infuse DE&I into the curriculum. And one of the modules within Gen 100 was focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they also have co-curricular activities that they have to attend and reflect on as a part of one of their assignments. I am happy to announce, if you have not heard or seen, we finally, after a year, have an inclusion statement for our syllabus in our college. And so initially the university did not have an inclusion statement. Now they are working on one, but they are using us in the college as a model to develop theirs. And so it's very exciting to see that we were leading in those efforts. And then lastly, as we are today, we lead diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings for the community at a regional level and then also at a national level. So for today, as we get into the bread and butter of our presentation, I like to start presentations with ground expectations because we are all at different levels on the continuum when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I want you all to really do some self-reflection and self-focus as we are going through the presentation today. And if you have not been a part of my presentations, I am very engaging. So I will ask you to utilize the chat box or even unmute your mic throughout the presentation. So first is have empathy and compassion. Speak from your own experience instead of generalizing. I instead of they, we, and you. Participate to the fullest of your ability. Community growth depends on the inclusion of every individual voice. Be aware of intent and impact. Stretch outside of your comfort zone. Be aware of yourself or have awareness of yourself. Pay attention to your feelings and your triggers. And so some of you may be triggered by this information. Some of you may not be. Again, it is a journey, and some of you may be further along on your journey than others. And then last, think about how you can be an ally and or accomplice. So inclusion is a journey, a process, and not a destination. And so I like to put this depiction here because, again, we're all at different levels in our journey. And understanding this is not a one-shoe-fit-all presentation. This presentation is not the end-all, be-all. It's definitely a journey. We are not going to delve into the weeds and potatoes and the nuances today. I am truly going to give you information to help you through this journey, but it will be ongoing. So we are going to start with this video and then get into our content for today. did you all think about that video? You can type in the chat box or you can unmute your mic. What did you think about the video? And I'm gonna tell you now, every time I watch it, I get goosebumps, and I've watched it a lot. Any thoughts? Further shows that diversity presents itself in many, many ways. Thank you, Kay. Does a good job of confronting various stereotypes. Thanks, Mary. So absolutely. So it does a great job of depicting diversity. And so many times when we think about diversity, or when folks say, oh, well, and I'll say for extension, a lot of times folks will say, oh, we don't have any diversity here. But we really have to think about what diversity looks like in our respective areas, right? And so with that, when we talk about diversity, the top 3 identities that folks refer to is race, gender, and ethnicity. But there are many other identities that are diverse. And so I hope that at the conclusion of this presentation, yes, those 3 are very important. Yes, we in extension go through a review and have to have racial and ethnic diversity. And beyond that, there are also other identities that can be identified. And so today I challenge you to listen, to learn, and understand. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand, we listen to reply. And so it's very important that we truly do listen to understand and not to respond right off the bat. So I wanted to show this utilization chart that just came out last week. So the dean shared this, and this is formulated through the Office of Equal Opportunity. And so what this is showing us is from the positions within our college, we are being compared to positions and the other. So this is a chart for our college, but there's also one for the university. And so it is basically a comparison of positions within our college compared to Fayette County. And then there's one for the university compared to the college. And so this one here is a utilization chart for our college so that we can see where we are when it comes to our minoritized population. And so I'm not going to bore you with the numbers and go through here, but I will share this because it does give you a reference point on where we are doing well and also where we have areas for improvement. It is not broken down by department, but I'm pretty sure the departments know what they're doing well as far as those DE&I initiatives and where there is room for growth. And I will share this presentation, so you will be able to see this if you have not seen the utilization chart. So a question that I want to propose is, why can't we discuss recruitment without retention? And you can unmute your mic or you can type in the chat box. Why can't we discuss recruitment without retention?
If anyone would like to unmute themselves and speak, feel free to. I guess I'll get us started in thinking about recruitment being part of our, what do people think about our field, about our department from the outside? What's the perception? But then retention is about our community that we have here and our ability to retain individuals and value individuals. And they kind of seem like 2 separate issues to me.
Thank you, Ellen. Anyone else? And this may be new for some of you, and that's okay. That's why we're here today. So I'm gonna move on for the sake of time, and we'll get into why we can't discuss recruitment without retention. So before we get started, I want to make sure that we all are on the same playing field and understanding what this terminology means that I may say during the presentation. We all come from different backgrounds, have different perspectives, and the definitions coming in may or may not have been what you thought they were. And so I want to make sure that we all understand what I am saying when I am saying these particular words for today and beyond. So the first word is nationality. Involves the country in which one holds citizenship. Race is a social construct, but typically involves a person's self-identification with one or more social groups. So according to the U.S. Census, a person can report as the following. And so it's white, Black or African American, Asian, American Indian, Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, other, and also 2 or more races. Ethnicity involves country or region one is from, and also a shared culture, religion, language, or association. When we discuss ethnicity, that is where the term Latinx comes into play. There are also non-Black Hispanics and Black Hispanics based on the color of one's skin. This here is BIPOC. So you may hear minoritized, or you may hear underrepresented minority. Now we are saying BIPOC to be more inclusive. So that means Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Diversity is the collective mixture of differences and similarities that includes individual and organizational characteristics, values, beliefs, experiences, backgrounds, and behaviors. It encompasses our personal and professional histories that frame how we see the world, collaborate with colleagues and stakeholders, and serve communities. So I have the cake mix here. And so when we look at diversity, diversity is representation. So we can recruit faculty, students, and staff. And with that, we have the cake with different ingredients. If we are missing any ingredients from the cake, then what happens? The cake is not going to turn out the way that we expect it to. So think in terms of diversity. When we have diversity of thought, different perspectives, from an identity standpoint, when we have the collective differences and similarities, think how rich the department could be. When we look at inclusion, the creation of a space where each person is authentically valued, respected, and supported. So we have representation in the department. And then we move a step further. And we then have to think about, all right, we have recruited our faculty, staff, and students. Now, how are we going to make them feel like they belong? How are we going to make sure they feel valued, respected, and supported? And what we want to do is make sure that we have a high retention rate, because it costs a lot to get new employees, and it costs a lot to get new staff and also students. And so we want to make sure that when we do recruit, we do have representation, but we also have to talk about inclusion as well, to understand that we have to create a safe space where everyone is feeling authentically valued, respected, and supported. We also have equity, which is providing all people with fair opportunities to attain their full potential to the extent possible. And then we have social justice, the equal access to wealth, opportunities, and privilege within a society. So I hope that you all maybe have seen this depiction. And when we talk about equality and equity, so equality is fairness. Equity is giving each person the resources that they need to succeed. So I can hire two faculty coming from two backgrounds that are the same, but my 2 faculty or my 2 students or my 2 staff may definitely need different resources to succeed. And so it's important to understand, again, it's not a one-shoe-fits-all opportunity, but it is an opportunity to ask, what do you need to succeed? How can I help you? And what do you need to make you feel like you belong to our department? So what is unconscious bias? It is a mental association without awareness, intention, or control. These often conflict with our conscious attitudes, behaviors, and intentions. So with unconscious bias, I like to talk about the diversity through your lens. So this is my iceberg here. And with these particular identities above the waterline, I may be able to see race, gender, age, physical ability, and behavior. I may be able to. I may not be able to. But below that waterline are things that you would not know about a person if you did not truly have that one-on-one conversation. And so I know in today's time with social media, we can form a narrative very quick. With the news, we can form a narrative very quick. But what is more better than truly being able to, 1, try to mitigate those unconscious biases, but 2, learning about other people, their backgrounds, experiences, their beliefs, family knowledge, so on and so forth, to really understand some of maybe the things that are taking place in today's time, or even just to get to know a person for who they are. And we have to understand that this is not a monolithic society. So I, as a Black woman, cannot speak for all Black women. But what I can do is share my experiences so that you understand what I may have been through or where I am wanting to go in my life. So we have to understand we can't put everybody in a box based on their identity, but we do have to understand that everyone comes from a different background and has different experiences. So how do we mitigate unconscious bias? We have to question and analyze your assumptions. Why am I thinking this way? Take risk. So put yourself outside of your comfort zone. And what I like to tell folks is that be comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's when you're growing. And I know the first thing that we say is, I don't want to make a mistake. So how do you ever learn if you never make a mistake? If you do it the first time, it's a teachable moment. Now, if it continues to happen, then we have a problem. But it's important to understand that we have to step outside of our comfort zone. Find people such as your friends, family, supervisors, mentors, and sponsors who will help you work through those challenges. Speak out, share your experiences with others to find common ground, and start a dialogue that will generate conversation and solutions. And so I'll give you an example. This morning, I was teaching my Gen 100 class, and we were talking about substance use and mental health. And so we have an open dialogue about mental health this morning. And it's very interesting just to hear the stories of the students and how there are so many commonalities. And when they started to hear and see that they were not alone in this journey alone, they started to empathize with one another. And so we have to be able to come to a point where we have these open dialogues, and they may not be comfortable initially, but that's how you start to see that growth, and you start to see that small incremental change, not only in the department, but we are preparing our students for the global society. So hoping that they are taking what they learn here in our department and then translate that out into society. And even with our faculty and staff, you all are working with our students and working with your colleagues. And so what does a true, candid, open dialogue look like in order to be able to really move the needle on some of the challenges we are having? Hold yourself and others accountable. So accountability is huge. Hold yourself accountable for self-reflection, learning, and continually analyzing your behaviors and experiences. At the same time, call others in. So you notice I don't say call others out, because when we call others out, what happens? We put up that wall and we don't want to talk about it, right? But we call others in when you see others engaging in biased behaviors by politely calling it out and giving them alternative ways of delineating those biases. So, from your perspective, how do you bring diversity to the forestry community? From your perspective, how do you bring diversity to the forestry community? And you can unmute your mic or you could type in the chat box. And so you will see these different dimensions here. You see personality at the core because that makes up who we are. But then you also see the primary dimension. We have a secondary dimension. And then if we have any students on, we also have a student dimension. But you can choose any dimension on these circles that you would like in which you bring diversity. And if it's something is not here, please feel free to share that as well.
So would you like everyone to take a moment and enter some things in the chat?
Yeah, sure. In the chat or even, oh no, Kay. I'm so sorry about that one. No, we still take you in. I'm from Louisville originally, so my family are diehard Cards, so I understand. The house is divided. Anyone else want to share? Okay, well, if no one wants to share, that's okay. Thank you, Kay, for sharing. But just being mindful of the different identities that make up our faculty, students, and staff. So again, as we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, these are different factors, characteristics, identities that play into our students, our faculty, and staff. And so it's important to know what that looks like as we are strategizing and wanting to create this diverse and inclusive environment. All right, so how can you be an ally? And what is an ally? You are willing to act with and for others in pursuit of ending oppression and creating equality, and someone whose personal commitment to fighting oppression and prejudice is reflected in the willingness to educate oneself about identities and experiences, challenges one's own discomfort and prejudice, learn and practice the skills and of being an ally, of being an ally while leveraging your privilege, and then last, take action to create interpersonal, societal, and institutional change. Yes, Daryl, that is a great point. And again, these are not inclusive of all, but given a idea of what the identities could be. But you bring up a very valid point, because that is a huge factor, finances. So if we continue to do the same thing, we will get the same result. So as we talk about recruitment, I have, through the literature and also through experience, have gathered some data, some information to truly help you all as you start to think about what recruitment and retention looks like. So first and foremost, intentional mechanisms in place. So what intentional mechanisms in place do you have in order to recruit? Are you going to pre-collegiate programs to begin that talent pipeline early? And I ask that because with our Junior Manners program, we start with youth at grade 7. And we go through from grade 7 through 12. And with that, we are finding that when students even get to middle school, as late as high school, they're starting to think about what their career choices are. And so some of the things our office has done is we have started going to some of the community events with youth as early as elementary school, and, you know, talked about different opportunities in the College of Ag to bring that awareness. Because as we look at our minoritized population, I will tell you all, I'm a first generation college student, and my family was in the medical field. And so when we talk about forestry, or when we talk about agriculture as a whole, there is historical content or context there that does not sit well with my family, right? So I had to educate my family as I declared a major in agricultural economics. But with that came that educational component, me bringing awareness for my family, exposure to my family, and guess what? Now they are recruiting other students to be in the agriculture field, to look at opportunities within it, because they have seen my journey and how I have gotten opportunities. And so it truly boils down to really having those intentional mechanisms in place. And then next, what does diversity look like for the department? So we talk about diversity. Yes, race, ethnicity, gender, very important. And what else are we looking at when we talk about diversity? And so I don't want us to get hung up on just a couple identities, but how can we ensure that we're looking at differently able, looking at socioeconomic status, looking at various identities to make sure that we are creating this diverse department. But then we have to move on to inclusivity. So what type of inclusive mechanisms do you have in place? Do you have a mentoring program? Are you creating this pipeline that from when a student comes in as an undergrad, you're talking to them about research, or you're talking to them about career opportunities to make sure that they are aware of those opportunities. Also being culturally aware. So understanding that everyone comes from different backgrounds, and everyone may not understand what forestry truly means or what the forest sector means. And so how are you breaking it down for various folks or cultures or people to understand what opportunities lie there? What does representation in the department look like? So we're out recruiting, whether that be faculty, whether that be students, whether that be staff. I'll tell you all, when I am out recruiting students, the number one question from parents and guardians is, will my child see people that looks like them? And what does representation look like within the College of Ag? And so I always have to reassure the students, parents, even faculty. Faculty want to come where they see people that look like them. And so even staff. And so it's important to look to see, what does representation look like? Also, meeting each person where they are. We've already talked about equity. Also, where are you marketing? I hear, well, I've been marketing and I'm not getting any diverse students or diverse faculty or staff. Well, where are you going? And we have to make sure that we're going to communities where the population we're wanting to recruit is. And so I'll tell you this, through Manners, we have faculty and students that we can always recruit. There is a message board, not a message board, but a job board through Manners that you can utilize for positions, or if you have any fellowships or assistantships, I could definitely help with that as well. What is the program known for? What do students want to see? And also marketing and branding. So messaging for one group may not suffice for another group. And I'll give you an example. So through Junior Manners, I think our marketing and branding is amazing. But when I went to get my nails done one day, my nail tech said, I mean, what does all that mean? It's very intimidating. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm really trying to bring it down to where folks in the community understand what it is, what we offer. But through my lens, it was not seen through another person's lens that does not do this work every day the same. And so we definitely have to make sure from a marketing and branding standpoint, who is represented within our marketing material, what messages are we conveying? Are we breaking down what exactly careers look like? Because if we really think about it, our students now, they want to know, okay, we're in college and then what? So they're looking at, what's going to happen when I graduate? What is my career going to look like? Yes, they want to get through the program, but they also want to know that there are going to be careers that are out there ready for them when they do graduate, or even, going to graduate school. Also looking at that pre-collegiate programs. There's many different programs. Another program that we partner with is Black and Hispanic Achievers through the YMCA. So there's opportunities there. There are a plethora of opportunities to really bring that awareness at a pre-collegiate level. I've already alluded to this, but the collegiate pipeline. Also, influencers. Who are some key influencers, that are currently in the department? Students, maybe they're ag ambassadors, even students that are now alumni that are doing amazing work. How can we continue to highlight them and show the good work that is taking place from the students that have been a part of our program? And then also strategizing. Who is doing it well? So looking at other institutions that have a forestry department that are doing things well, and then maybe there may not be any. I don't know. I haven't really done any research on it up until today, but maybe seeing, what your counterparts are doing in this space in order to enhance that recruitment. Also, I asked, how are you marketing? So these are just a few of the marketing outlets as far as diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes to diverse networks. And so these are just a few that we do utilize, but also know there are more. And so just making sure that we are intentional with the recruiting and that we're doing from a marketing standpoint for the positions. I'm going to skip through this to get to retention because I do want to have time for questions, and we're running up on 2 o'clock, but I will again share this information. So as far as retention, we want to make sure that we are creating a welcoming and incorporate diverse people and cultures into the structures and processes and functions of our daily community life. Always reviewing and updating practices, so continually getting input. So whether that is forming maybe a DEI committee within your department for faculty, students, and staff. I truly believe that faculty, students, and staff coming together and really hearing their voices is very important because they are coming from all different places and spaces and able to bring the collective thoughts and ideas in regards to recruitment and retention. Also discussing what inclusivity and belonging looks like. So like it could be that mentorship program. It could be forming a employee resource group within your department. And so you want to make sure that everyone does feel comfortable and they feel like they have that home away from home, because we definitely spend more time with folks in our workspace than we do with our family at home. And so no one wants to come to work and not feel like they belong. And so we have to make sure that we are creating that safe space where we do have that sense of belonging and inclusivity. Relationship building. So we talk about, recruitment and retention. And the way that it truly is developed is through relationship building. And so no, you don't have to get into your employees or your students or your faculty's business. No, not at all. But it's very important, again, to meet people where they are and truly building those genuine relationships that then create that positive narrative within your department. And so it's important to understand that you have to build relationships in order to get the results you're wanting to get. And I'm going to say that, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, and it will take trial and error. But you have to start somewhere. If you don't start at all, you're not going to truly get to where you want to get. But you have to start somewhere in order to make that true change. Also, making sure that our faculty, students, and staff are aware of resources that are available. And something that really hurts my heart many times is that I talk to our minoritized faculty or staff or students, and they'll say, you know, I heard about these resources from my counterparts, but I knew nothing about them. And so it's important, again, to make sure that we're not just sharing resources with one particular group, but we're sharing resources with everyone that it could pertain to, and making sure, again, that we are practicing equity and making sure that our students, faculty, and staff have those resources that they need to succeed. And then also the infusion of diversity, equity, and inclusion into the curriculum. And so this is something that is new for us as a college. I know some departments have been very good about infusing DE&I into their curriculum. Some departments have a lot of work to do. But again, people that come from different backgrounds want to see other people in the textbooks, or even presenting, or even, you know, coming to the class and, you know, with resources, whatever that looks like. But it's just very important to make sure that we're intentional in those efforts. And I'm trying to do a better job of, when I get information, to send it out to various departments within the college so that we can continue to do better in that area. So what are some recommendations? Define talent for your department, and this goes to when you are looking for talent. So defining talent for your department, align with the mission and infuse that definition into your employee engagement strategies. Be deliberate and well organized in developing a hiring strategy, appointing and preparing search committees, pursuing and assessing talent. Design interview strategies or methods that allow you to fully assess candidates relative to the position description and to the core values of the organizational culture we seek. And so this is a big one. And so as I am in on interviews, sometimes, not all the time, we look for our candidates to have skills that we think they should have, and not truly what the position description outlines. And so we have to do a better job of making sure that we are going by what we are expecting from what we put in that position description, and not what we always feel comfortable with. Because if we always hire who we're comfortable with, we're always going to get the same people that may look, act, or think like us. And so again, our goal is to diversify our department and to not always have the same folks that are represented within the departments. Aggressively seek sources of bias in the search process and correct that immediately. Prepare yourself to fully engage in an open and non-judgmental manner. Commit to building a culture of diversity and inclusion. Remember that we don't expect you to be an expert, and that this is an ongoing learning process. And last, but certainly important, you have to commit to the journey. And know that my office is here to support you all along the way. And I definitely, if you have any questions or concerns or anything, we are here to support you through that. So as far as reflection, I never like to do a presentation without flexion or some action items. And I'm not going to put anyone on the spot today, but I do want to leave you with some action items to really think about. And so think about this. What are my personal goals or aspirations in relation to diversity, equity, inclusion, and or social justice? Identify 3 diversity, inclusion, and/or social justice concepts you feel you need to further develop. Identify a plan to further complete the 3 key areas. And then for that accountability piece, identify someone such as, but not limited to, a friend, mentor, supervisor that can support you in meeting your goals in regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion and social justice. So here are a few things that we have coming up in our office. So we have our next Cultivating Inclusion series coming up. So you can find more information about that on our webpage. We also have our next training through CELT on November the 16th from 12 to 1, focused on fostering community and belonging. And then we have our 9th annual Junior Mentors Leadership Institute on November the 21st. And in the middle there is our new inclusion statement. And so for faculty and lecturers, you can find that in the SharePoint that Carmen shares with you all, and you all can use that depiction and put it up on your website, in the classrooms, or wherever you would like. So that concludes my presentation. And so I am now going to open the floor for any questions or comments.